I love this idea and I love the name. You came up with Pipe Dream. Like, just how did you come up with the name? Like, why did you name it that?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like a shower thing. I love running like future simulations, as nerdy as it sounds. Like, okay,
Mhm.
let's say this is super successful. Like, what's it going to be like? And I realized like someone was going to find the pun pipe dream and be like, this is a pipe dream. And then that would be the headline. And that's what people say. So I figured let's just take the power away from them and just
Mhm.
like own the craziness and like name it pipe dream. I also just think it's like, I love doing things that have like guaranteed success if you can make it work, but are
Mhm.
super hard to get there. Those kind of like pipe dream projects. And I don't know, it
And so,
worked.
so, so when you've been raising, like, when you talk to VCs, has it been hard to convince them that like this pipe dream is feasible, or how have those conversations been going?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I don't really try to sell pipe dream at first.
Mhm.
My whole goal is to kind of stress test this idea of hyperlogistics. And like, are we united? Like, I kind of tell them, like, here's where we see logistics going, here's the opportunity. And then I can usually convince them that hyperlogistics is going to be a thing. And now
Mhm.
the question is, you know, 10, 15 years from now, it's 100% going to be a thing. Can we cheat that timeline and make it quicker? That's the next thing that either I have to convince them or they may get it intuitively. So if me and a VC can agree on hyperlogistics as the future, then Pipe Dream makes a lot of sense. And I just had a great call right before this with a VC. It was like a 10-minute call, but like as soon as he got hyperlogistics, he's like, oh, well, this makes total sense. Absolutely. So it really depends on the VCs. And we kind of steer away from the ones we tend to like the higher conviction VCs who think about, emergent industries. Yeah, those are the ones that are more receptive.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I had just heard that like on Twitter you had connected with a few VCs that like immediately understood and had been like looking for these kind of systems. So
Oh
that's kind of
yeah.
why I was asking that, like that VCs had been waiting for you to start building this. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
a few of them for sure.
Twitter's like super important
Yeah.
as like a new startup founder.
What's that?
Twitter's like super important, right? As a
Twitter's
new
the most
startup founder.
important. Yeah, Twitter's been paramount to any success we've had. And if I was even thinking about building a company within the next year or two,
Mhm.
I would start Twitter immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like what stage is the vehicle in right now? What have you built?
Yeah. So what we're working on right now is just confirming as many hypotheses as possible. And we built this prototype system. Our first prototype was fully 3D printed, and we were so excited about that. And then
Mhm.
when something didn't work, we realized, oh well, now we got to redesign the whole thing. So the team did a great thing. They built this system based on Rails, so it's kind of like 80/20 for our design, where
Mhm.
every subcomponent locks into the Rails. And you can, as we redesign subcomponents, we can switch out from the body. So that's going to be really great for testing. And yeah, that's the stage that we're at in the engineering side is just making sure that all the things we thought intuitively or that work in a simulation, let's make sure that they work in real life.
Have other people tried to build this before?
Yeah. So New York tried to do it with pneumatic tubes. So the way
Okay.
that pneumatic tubes work is like you have vacuum on one side, you have air pressure on the other side, and then the air pressure pushes the pod
Yeah.
down the tube because of that. And that did not work. And then that was in like the 20s, it was a long time ago. So I think those tubes are still there under New York. They
Mhm.
did a little bit in Chicago and a bunch in Berlin. And the reason that didn't work is because one, it was high infrastructure costs, like really high, because it's a lot of machinery to put underground. And
Machinery for making it a vacuum, so it's pneumatic.
yeah, making the
Yeah.
vacuum system. And the
Mhm.
problem with relying on the vacuum system is once one part of the section broke and it wasn't holding air anymore, that whole neighborhood was down. And they had to dig
Mhm.
up streets to go in and fix
No
it.
way. They didn't
Yeah,
have an access point. They had to re-dig up streets.
yeah, yeah. Because
That's
if it
insane.
breaks, if you have an access point, it needs to break at the access point to be helpful.
Mhm.
So they abandoned that for horse and buggy. And then it may have been tried since. There is a new company with SpaceX engineers who are working on something similar. They're looking at in between cities out in the UK, I think. Uh,
Okay. So like a little bit bigger.
yeah, about it. I don't want to pitch their business for them, but I think it's like a meter and a half.
Okay. So what are you gonna do when something breaks down in between? Are you gonna have to dig it back up, or is it because it's sewage? Like you're using sewage PVC pipes, right?
Yeah.
So because you're doing that, is it like easier to dig it and pick it and fix it?
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. Like until this happens, it's going to be a thesis. But the plan is that that's big enough to put in maintenance robots. And, the system's pretty light. So it can only break in two ways. Either one of the pods breaks down and you have a cleanup crew go extract it, or the PVC wears out. And our thesis right now is that you can have a pretty simple machine that has extra PVC in it and can fix it kind of like a 3D printer builds things. So you melt it
So it
down,
can like
you
print
put
it.
it on.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, and if
nice.
it's fractured, bring it back together and go ahead and stitch it up.
That's actually pretty sci-fi, like having little robots go fix your PVC in the underground networks.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? We stand on the shoulders of giants. Like a lot of this tech has been figured out by gas pipeline people. So we're kind of just taking those discoveries and technologies and just trying to apply it down to a little smaller size and in plastic pipes.
Do you read a lot of sci-fi? This is like a left field question, but
Yeah, I
because it's
did.
very
I
exciting.
did before I started this.
Now you have no
I
time to
need
read
I need to
anymore.
read more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you talked to like the military about this? Because this seems